Welcome to Azure 2. This is Unit 3, I guess test review as well. The test that's on Wednesday. It's also your homework video, 2-in-1. So if you do the packet, you will score really well. Alright, so let's start. So what does it mean to find the solution? You're trying to find the value of x that makes these two equations true. So for example, let's say in the past when I would, let's say, give you x plus 2 equals 3, you would isolate x here, right? You would just subtract 2 and x equals 1. Basically what you would do, right? This one is the same thing, but here you have a radical first. How do you get rid of square root? Well, enemy of the square root is the square. So if you square both the sides, the square root, you get rid of it, and that's what you want. You want to simplify it, right? You want to get rid of the radical, you want to get rid of it, right? So you get 3x plus 28 equals x squared. Okay, I see quadratic here. The first thing that comes to mind is factoring, diamond method, stuff like that. In order for me to do that, I need to make sure that the one of my side equals to 0. Now I want to make sure, I want to keep my x squared positive. I just personally, that's what works with me. If that doesn't work for you, it's okay. It works for me as long as x squared is positive. It becomes easy for me. So I'm going to subtract 3x and subtract 28 on both the sides. So I get 0 equals x squared minus 3x minus 28. Now I can use diamond method here. What are the factors of negative 28? That gets you negative 3. So you're trying to find two numbers that times negative 28 and add to get negative 3. So I can think of 7 and 4. Now it's like you have to figure out what symbol they are, I guess, like signs, negative and positive, I guess. Here the 3 is negative, that means the heavier one must be negative. So that negative 7 and positive 4, which makes sense, which is negative 3. Looking at this, does this work? Does negative 7 times 4 equal negative 28? It does. So you get 0 equals x squared. I'm going to rewrite negative 3x as minus 7x plus 4x minus 28. Factor. What do these two have in common and these two have in common? You get x minus 7 plus 4x minus 7. So you have x plus 4, x minus 7, which just means x equals negative 4 and positive 7. Now we're not done yet. We still need to make sure they are the solutions of this radical by plugging it in. So if I plug in negative 4, I get negative 4 times 3, which is negative 12. Negative 12 plus 28 is positive 16, and square root of, so I plug in negative 4, right, and I got square root of 16 equals the x, which is negative 4. That's what we plugged in. Does square root of 16 equal negative 4? It does not. So x equals negative 4 is an extraneous solution. Now plug in 7 and see if it works. 7 times 3 is 21, 21 plus 28 is 49, so I get square root of 49 equals 7, which is true. So x equals 7 is a solution, is a regular solution. It's like the real solution, actual solution, right? Alrighty, moving on. Same thing here. You get radical first, you isolate the radical, square both the sides, you get x plus 1 equals x minus 5 squared. Now here I would use box method. The box, so I'm squaring this, right? X minus 5 squared, which basically just means x plus 1 equals x minus 5 times x minus 5. So when I'm squaring a binomial like that, binomial element, I just create a square box, write x minus 5, x minus 5, x times x is x squared, negative 5x, negative 5x, 25, positive. So you get x plus 1, oh my gosh, you're giving me more space now that I think about it. X squared minus 10x plus 25. When I simplify this, I get that. x squared minus 10x plus 25. I get one side equal to 0. I will subtract x, subtract 1, subtract x, subtract 1. I get 0 equals x squared minus 11x plus 24. 3 and 8. Diamond method again. You get negative 3, negative 8. So you get 0 equals x squared minus 3x minus 8x plus 24. This two have in common, that is an x. You're left with x minus 3. Negative 8, you're left with x minus 3. So you get your factors as x minus 8 and x minus 3. So x equals 8 or x equals 3. Now, plug it back in. I get 8 plus, so I'm going to plug in 8. I get 8 plus 1, which is 9. Square root of 9, 3. Does that equal 8 minus 5? It does. So x equals 8 is a solution, regular solution, right? Not extraneous. Now plug in 3. X equals 3. 3 plus 1, 4. 3 minus 5, negative 2. Does square root of 4 equal negative 2? Does 2 equal negative 2? It does not. So this is an extraneous solution. Extraneous solution. Okay, we figured out x equals 3 extraneous, x equals 8 regular solution. Clear. State the domain and range. Okay, what does it mean? What does domain mean? Okay, let's take an example. If I come up to you and ask you for a phone charger, but I don't tell you what phone I have, you will be confused. Because I could have an iPhone, I could have a better phone which is Samsung. The point is that domain, and there's a relationship between, there's a logic behind it, is what I'm trying to say. So domain basically means what values can you plug in. There are certain functions that don't have restrictions. We have certain functions that do have restrictions, such as square root. Now, what do I mean restriction? Well, I cannot plug in all the number for x. It does not make sense, because what if I plug in negative 1? Square root of negative 1 is not a real number. I cannot graph it. So anything less than 0 does not make sense. So now looking at this, I have a starting point. Domain basically represents the x value of the starting, like the starting point, the x value. Now, I see the starting point as 1. Now, can I plug in 1? Is 1 a solution of this? Can I plug in 1? Here, if you see a hole like that and it increases, then you cannot plug in 1. But here, it's a complete point, right? Like that. So you can definitely plug in 1. When you have something like this, we use square bracket, something that you can plug in legally. Like if there was a hole I couldn't have plugged in, I would have used some of them. We can talk about that later as well. But for now, I can plug in 1. That's the lowest point I can plug in. I cannot plug in anything lower than that, because it doesn't show, the graph doesn't continue. Now, what is the highest point I can plug in? Now this graph is going to go up forever. That's what this is indicating, right? So if it's going to go up forever, it's going to go up to infinity. You can plug in any number from 1 through infinity, right? So infinity is not something, infinity is not a point you can plug in, right? It's not a point on the graph. So we use square, what is this called? A parenthesis kind of thing. So basically it's saying domain is between 1 through infinity. Now we do range. For the values that you plug in, what are the y values you're getting? That's what this is saying. For the values, the x values that you're plugging in, what are the y values you're getting? So starting from this, what is the lowest point you're getting? I'm getting the lowest point as 1 as well. So I get 1. What is the highest point? It's going to go up forever, comma infinity. Now they're asking you to write the equation that represents it. Well, I'm going to say this, okay? Any square root function can be written as y equals a square root of x minus h plus k. Here's what I mean. H is the x value of the, see, square root function is always going to have a vertex point, or like the lowest point or the max highest point. Like this point right here, it's always going to have that square root function, okay? That point, the h value is the x value and the k value is the y value of that point. So what would that look like here? And h is negative here, okay? So let's talk about that. Y equals a square root of x. This is positive 1. Here h is positive 1, h comma k, right? It becomes x minus 1. K is positive 1, it remains positive. So you get y equals a square root of x minus 1 plus 1. Now what about a? How do I find a? Are you given any other point? You're given 2 comma 2. Use that information to find a. You get 2 equals a square root of 2 minus 1 plus 1. You get 2 minus 1 is 1, square root of 1 is just 1, so a plus 1, subtract 1, 1 equals a. Hey, that's very, you always check for a, okay? Always check for it. So actually our equation is just y equals square root of x minus 1 plus 1. That is our equation for this graph. Alrighty, go to the next question. State the domain and range for this one. Domain, again, the x value. What is the lowest value you're plugging in? And it's negative 1 in our case. And it's gonna plug in all the numbers forever, right? It's gonna be positive infinity. Even if the graph is going down, see, down is represented by the y-axis, right? But you're going right forever, right? That's domain. That's why it goes infinity. Had it been going left forever, then I would say negative infinity up until comma negative 1. But that's later. Okay. Range. Okay. What is the lowest y value I'm getting? But is my graph going down forever? Yes. So the lowest y value I'll be getting is negative infinity. Is my graph going up forever? No. It has a stopping point, which is negative 1. And it's included in my range. Okay. How do I find the equation of it? Same thing. Y equals a square root of x minus h plus k. Y equals a. H is negative 1, so it becomes positive 1. K is negative 1, it stays negative 1. Plug it in. I got 0 comma negative 2. I'm going to plug that in. Ooh. Yeah, 0 comma negative 2. That works. So negative 2 equals a. 0 plus 1 is 1. Square root of 1 minus 1 is just 1. So negative 2 equals a minus 1. Add 1. So a equals negative 1. So your equation basically becomes y equals negative square root of x plus 1 minus 1. Now I could have guessed it that it was negative just because it's going reflected over the x-axis, I guess. It reflected, right? It's going down forever. That's why I'm saying it's negative. Okay, so if you are given that it's going down, there's a negative up there, okay? There's a negative up front. If it's going up, it's positive. Okay. Find the solutions to the following equations and check if there's so now there's two radicals here. I would only suggest one thing, and that's the way of solving this is by separating them. Add square root of 2x minus 8 on both the sides. So I get square root of x minus 2 equals square root of 2x minus 8. Square both the sides, you get x minus 2 equals 2x minus 8. Add 8, you get 6 equals, subtract x. So x equals 6. Now check if it's in a solution or extraneous solution. 6 minus 2 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 minus 8 is 12 minus 8. What is it? 12 minus 8. What is 12 minus 8? Oh, I know what it is. 4. Square root of 4 is 2. And 2 minus 2 does equal 0. So x equals 6 is a solution, and we don't have no extraneous solutions. Alright, the speed as in kilometers per whatever, you're given what? Depth of the water when the flow speed is 19 kilometers per hour. So determine the water depth. So you're trying to find the given speed, right? So you're given 19 equals square root of 500 minus d. Square both the sides. 19 squared is, I think, 361. I'm just gonna check it still. 19 times 19 is 361. I knew it. Square both the sides. Get 361 equals 500 minus d. Add d. Subtract 361. So you get D equals 139. Subtract it, figure it out. Okay, you figure it, you got this. Okay. Looking at the next one, let's say you're done. That's it. Question number 7. Which of the following expression is equivalent to 8 negative 2/3? I see a negative. First thing is making it fraction. You get 8 to the power of 2/3. Now the denominator becomes the radical. You get 8 squared. There's only one. That's C. Okay. Which expression shows this? Well, you must cube root 64 as well. Don't forget that. Okay. Cube root of 64 is 4. X to the power of 4/3. So it's B. Okay, which of the following are the factors of the following polynomial? Well, if something is a factor, then let's say x minus 1 is a factor, then x-intercept is 1. X-intercept is 1. Check it if it's true or not. Plug it in. Plug in 1. You get 1 cubed minus 6 times 1 squared plus 11 times 1 minus 6. You get 1 minus 6 plus 11 minus 6, which is 0. So this is a solution. This is a factor. Now plug in 2. You get 2 cubed minus 6 times 2 squared plus 11 times 2 minus 6. 2 cubed is 8. 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. Plus 22 minus 6. Now that is a 0 as well. So this is also a factor. Plug in 3. 3 cubed minus 6 times 3 squared plus 11 times 3 minus 6. 3 cubed is 27. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 6 is 54. Plus 33 minus 6. This is 60 minus 60, which is 0. So this is also a solution. And there can only be 3 solutions, right? It's cubic. So if you plug in 4, check it, okay? You will not get 0. Plug it in. I'm not going to plug in because I'm a genius. I know that. Okay. How would you solve this? Well, isolate the radical, subtract 9. You get cube root of 3x squared equals 2. Cube all the sides. Now this cube and this cancels out, so whatever is under the square root remains exactly the same. 2 cubed is 8. X squared equals 8/3. X equals square root of 8/3, and that is your answer. Cool. Find the roots for the following equation. Diamond method. You got this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not even going to do this. Okay, you got this. Okay. When I say, okay, let's do this. You get negative 12, negative positive 4, 6 and 2. 6 is positive, 2 is negative. So I'm just going to skip a step. You get x minus 6, x plus 6, and x minus 2. If they are the roots, you cannot stop right here. They're not asking you for factors, they're asking you for the roots. So you must set them equal to 0 and say x equals negative 6 and x equals 2. You must say that. Okay. Which of the following is the graph of y equals square root of x minus 4? Well, I told you about this, right? If it's negative 4, that's the h value because it's under the square root. It becomes positive 4, 0. So wherever my starting point is 4, 0, I'm looking for that. Now, is it negative or positive? It's positive, that means it's 4, 0 and increasing. There are 2 graphs that have that. 2 graphs, A and B. Now, I would actually plug in a point. I would plug in 8 and see if I get 2. And then I would plug in 8 and see if I get 4. If I get 4, it's A. If I get 2, it's B. Plug in 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So it's actually B. Okay. Last question. Which of the following? Same thing, but now let's see. Again, it's starting at 4, 0, but now it's decreasing kind of thing. So it's not A or B, it's C or D. Now I would plug in a point. I would plug in, say, 8, and I would get 2. If I get 2, here see, you would think it's 10, but 10 is not actually close to negative 5. I'm going to plug in 8 again, and 8 is exactly negative 4. So if I get negative 4 for 8, it's C. If I get 2 for 8, then it's D. Plug in 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. Yeah, right? And square root of 4 is 2. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. So it is negative 4, so it is C. Perfect. That's the end of the video. If you have a question, let me know. during office hours on Tuesday after school.